guys. Do you remember Endrick? Remember all the fuss when the young Brazilian joined?
He didn't look happy there either, did he?
He did not look happy there at all. Well, Real Madrid also, very much like Liverpool, Stevie, remaining perfect so far in this La Liga season. I'm sure that made Xabi Alonso very happy, so let's hear from him.
Yo creo que esa es su posición, ¿no? Como centrocampista ofensivo, que se pueda juntar con el delantero, que se pueda juntar con los medios. Jude tiene un despliegue impresionante y cuanto más le encontremos, pues mejor jugaremos. Lleva tiempo, jugó en el Mundial, pero bueno, el Mundial era un contexto diferente, el equipo era muy diferente, bueno, muy diferente, bastante diferente al de ahora. Pues hoy le ha faltado el gol, ¿no? Sí que igual en el momento que mejor estaba, igual podía haber esperado un poquito para cambiarle un poco más tarde, pero creía que meter gente por fuera un poco con refresco, tanto Franco también quería seguir jugando. Me decía, ¿me cambias a mí? Y yo, sí. Franco, te cambio a ti. Y con Vini pasaba un poco parecido. Quería seguir porque se encontraba bien, podía haber esperado, pero bueno, el partido era de cogerlo el control y necesitábamos gente de refresco, o sea que quedan muchos partidos y le ha faltado el gol, ha tenido la ocasión, ha tenido el palo y ha sido una pena.
All right, well, let's bring in Alex Kirkland, shall we? Alex, I'm going to start with you because a lot to take from this game. Stunning strikes, of course, from Militao, of all people. Mbappe back on the score sheet. Vini Jr. returning to the 11. And Jude Bellingham just returning, period, in a Real Madrid shirt. But I have to start with the Vini Jr. conversation. Back in the 11, we talk about how he needs to have a point to prove to Xabi Alonso. Then we saw his reaction on being subbed off. Xabi Alonso saying it's just because he needed fresh, cool bodies back out on the pitch. But what did you make of what he did with his chance today?
Yeah, look, a player being unhappy, being taken off isn't news, is it? It happens all the time. And that was certainly the line that Xabi Alonso was trying to take afterward, trying to downplay Vini Jr.'s reaction to being subbed today. He said, look, it happens. He said, Mastantuono was the same as we heard in that clip there. He was just as unhappy about being taken off. And this reaction, this moment, and we saw Xabi Alonso putting his arm around Vini Jr. on the touchline and explaining to him his reasoning, I guess, in isolation isn't a big deal. But of course, it comes in a context. And that context is that Vini Jr.'s form has been up and down. He's been benched twice in Real Madrid, 6 games so far by Xabi Alonso. Contract talks over a new contract are going nowhere. They've stalled. They've been put on hold. Vini's contract is up in 2027. And the feeling certainly from people close to Vini is that the coach isn't convinced by him as a player. So that's the context. The question is now, how does Vini respond to all of this? And it can kind of go two ways, I guess. Either he gets his head down, takes the opportunities when they come, works hard and wins his place back in the team kind of full time, or it might go the other way. It wasn't that he was bad today at all, but I think that's the issue, that he was back in the team today, as you guys said, did pretty well, but it wasn't enough to keep him on the pitch for 90 minutes. It's not just the fact that he hasn't always been playing, that he's been benched twice. It's that when he has been playing, when he has been in the starting 11 as well, he's not completing 90 minutes. Xabi Alonso, sooner or later is tending to take him off at some point in the second half. And like I said, we saw the reaction today.
Shaka, what did you make of Vini's performance there and Xabi's decision to take him off?
I thought Vini was outstanding.
Yeah.
Getting back to the Vini that we saw of 2, maybe 3 seasons ago, without question, that saw him kind of elevated to a Ballon d'Or contender. People in Madrid would say favourite. But then I've also got no issue at all with Xabi Alonso taking him off. And I have to hold my hands up here. I thought when you looked at Real Madrid's issues, and in particular that left-hand side with Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe, I thought if Carlo Ancelotti couldn't get that right, nobody on the planet could, let alone a manager relatively inexperienced as Xabi Alonso did wonders at Leverkusen, not taking that away from him. But this is a bigger ask. But he's got it absolutely right so far. Yeah. And I have no problem at all with him saying to somebody, even a Ballon d'Or favourite, that it's time for you to have a little sit down now, for whatever reason, or not start, for what he has gotten this absolutely right. At the same time, Kylian Mbappe is playing in this wonderful form, and that allows Xabi Alonso to continue making the decisions because it's working, and you cannot. This game is not about personalities; it's about results, and Xabi Alonso is getting those.
Stevie, you said it. That amazing one to kick up the backside. Would you?
Aye. Well, the one thing that I would like to know about Vini is, in this day and age, players should know, with the amount of games they play, because players are as bad as anybody for complaining they play too many games, that they're going to be rested. They're going to be not always starting, or they're going to have to come off. So for me, the thing I'm interested in is what's going on in Vini's head. You know, is Vini one of those guys that doesn't care about the sensible route, about, you know, making sure everybody gets through the season? You know, most players will know that come a big game, I'm in the starting 11. Does Vini think that he should just play regardless? Because if that's his attitude, he's not going to last by the looks of it under Alonso. Alonso, to me, is a guy who knows exactly what he wants. I mean, you listen to him talking. This guy seems so clued in, so straight in what he's thinking, and it sounds as though it's going to be how I'm going to do it. And if you don't want to do it my way, then that's fine. I'll get somebody else to do it. So that's why I think this is important, that what goes on in Vini's head. Because if Vini's one of those guys that is not interested in listening to the coach, it's all about him, and it's just, I need to be playing, I need to be scoring, because I want the Ballon d'Or, and I want it all to be about me. If Vini's like that, he's not going to last under Alonso.
Alex, what do you make about what Stevie just had to say?
Yeah, I think the feeling is, and I think Vinny feels this as well, the impression I get is that his status in the team has changed. You know, this is a guy who a couple of years ago was the team star, undisputed star, no question. You know, Canada for best player in the world. Then we had Jude Bellingham come in. Then we had Mbappe in particular come in. And the fact that now this team, it really does revolve around Mbappe. You know, he is the guy, and we're seeing that in his performances, his all-round play, as well as the goals he's scoring. He started the season in absolute career best form. And I feel like that's affected Vinny not being the main man at Real Madrid, and to the point now where his place in the starting 11 is being questioned, is in jeopardy. You've got Rodrigo as well, who has told Xabi Alonso, I want to play on the left-hand side, so direct competition there for Vinicius. As Steve mentioned, you know, the big games, let's see when those big games come around, and they're coming up very soon. We've got a derby next weekend against Atletico Madrid. We've got a Clásico next month as well. We've got some big games in the Champions League coming up as well. So let's see if Vini is in the starting 11 for those games. And yeah, you know, of course, I think players understand that at some point they have to be rested, but the question is, I guess the potential problem is if you're being rested now in September at the start of the season. You know, we're not talking about much further down the line when the players' bodies are really starting to ache. It's the start of the season. If you're already in and out of the team and you consider yourself to be one of the key players in that team, I guess that's the issue.
I think Alex absolutely answered the question there.
So
status. It's all about status.
So no, here's the thing. I don't think it's necessarily about status. In that, well, to Alex's point, a couple of seasons ago, Vinicius Jr. unquestionably was a team star. But now all of a sudden, new manager comes in, you've started 3 games, and the team is running away with things. And you just wonder, is this team now kind of getting away from me? You want to be involved. You want to play those games, even if it means I start and you take me off after 60 minutes, we're 3-0 up, whatever it is. But now all of a sudden, you're on the sidelines far more than you're used to, and you're seeing the team playing far better than it has for quite some time, and you just wonder if this is kind of your days being numbered. You want to be involved, and when you aren't, it's a little bit of a chip against you. And so I sympathize with Vinicius and his frustration as a player, not as a Ballon d'Or winner, not as Real Madrid's poster boy, but as a football player, you want to be involved in those teams.
Alex, just speaking about the team getting away from you, even though this is a completely different situation, but of course we saw Jude Bellingham return now. I know on the pre-show the guys were discussing if he just walks back into the 11 and pick up where he left off, because the truth is Real Madrid have been pretty perfect while he's been on the sidelines. Our Sid Lowe kind of suggested that he may not exactly just walk on and pick up where he left off, whereas our Ale Moreno said, this is Jude Bellingham. Of course he does.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to contradict Dr. Sid Lowe, but I mean, no, I think Jude comes back into this team one way or another. I think that you find a space for him. The question is where and how exactly that works. You know, will it be in the midfield 3 with Arda Güler dropping out, for example? So it's Tchouaméni, Valverde, and Bellingham. Is it one of the front 3, and then you've got Mbappe and Jude and one other, whether it's Vini or Mastantuono or Rodrigo? So that question mark is there. No question about that. But I think one way or another, I think it happens. I think Bellingham is too good, and what he can bring to this team is kind of too significant not to bring him in. And we saw Xabi Alonso keeps saying it was a different context, the Club World Cup in the summer, but in the Club World Cup, Jude Bellingham played every game, and Xabi Alonso, even though he was switching the team around and the shape of the team, Bellingham wasn't always in the same position. He was always in the team, and I think that will happen again once he's back to full fitness.